Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. You know, it's sad, especially in America, because Candace has become so large on a political platform, very conservative. You know, Republicans especially love her, and she's built a great platform on some very good causes and some very, moral issues. But now she has just absolutely blazingly gone off the rails with her tirade against Israel. And now she's even questioning the Holocaust.
There's a lot behind my refusal to bend the knee to Israel. There's too much that I've learned about their history, about what was done to Christians, which they're alleging now is blood libel.
And she's got all of these conservatives that are coming in to side with her. And I told a good number of them, some of my dear friends, Charlie Kirk and the rest of them, I said, you have got to renounce her, because this is absolute blood in the water for what.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
And I'm D White.
Today on the new party, we're going to get into controversial pastor attacking Candace Owens for her stance on Israel. So this pastor, Pastor Greg Locke, if y'all know or may not know him, he was pretty controversial during COVID. Are y'all familiar with him?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay, so Greg Locke, very controversial guy. One of the controversial things he said during COVID is he said that pretty much forget the mask, it's a scam. He told a lot of members of his congregation to not believe in COVID, not to wear a mask. Gray, anything to add about what you know about him?
You summed it up.
Huh?
You summed it up.
Yeah, I summed it up. So he was pretty controversial. One of the right-wing pastors during COVID, one of the right-wing pastors in 2020. He's a major Trump supporter. He's a member of MAGA. And I'm going to play a clip of something else that he said pretty controversial, and then we'll do some reactions on what he said on Jewish rabbi's show this week. This is pretty strong, what he said about his position on what's going on in Israel. And it's pretty sad. I mean, the things that he said is pretty heartbreaking on how he attacks Israel. One second, I'm pulling up the clip now. All right. He said Israel should be destroyed, or Palestine should be destroyed.
A parking lot by this time next week. Destroy the whole thing. Israel should make the Gaza Strip.
So did you guys hear what he said?
Destroy the whole thing.
Gray, what do you think about that?
I mean, there's a reason that the Constitution says there's a separation between church and state. So I feel like any time that you're taking a religious stance on anything, that you are basically going against the Constitution, because you can't have religious people based on their religion saying that this is what the government should do. I know a lot of people on the right try to say that this is a Christian country, and it may be populated with mostly Christians, but when it comes to government, when it comes to law, it's a complete separation of what the law and what the government does than what a religious organization would and should do.
Well, let's get into when he says that the reason why more people in America should be on Israel's side is because God chose the Jews.
Biblically ignorant. They believe anything that CNN or Fox News, for that matter, tells them. And so when somebody like Candace, with a huge platform and a big voice, comes out and begins to say things like this about the Jewish people, it's not just disgusting, it's dangerous, because she is leading a movement of a younger generation of people that don't understand the Holocaust, that don't understand the Jewish nation, that don't understand what the Bible actually says about how we are to support the Jewish people and the people of God. And so it's very discouraging for a guy like me to see this, because I've had to take a very bold stand and say, look, Candace, this is it. This is where I draw my line in the sand. We can disagree about a few things, but you can't disagree about this. And it's not that I have some pie in the sky idea that the Jewish government always makes the right decisions. Here's what I know. God always makes the right decision. And God chose the Jewish people, right? He chose them.
So D, you're not a biblical scholar, but what do you think about what he said?
Yeah, I think it's asinine to think that just because And I don't want to offend anyone for their belief in religion. I think that religion is great. I think that religion helps people stay on the correct path. You know, we've had several conversations about this off of camera, and you know, I do believe in a God. It might not be necessarily the one that's in the Bible, and I think that overall, like religion helps people to make better choices. You know, honor thy mother, honor thy father, all that type of stuff. But I think that us being blind and following a group of people based on where they live, based on what was written in a book thousands of years ago, and the people who lived in that place have changed several times since then. I don't think that we should just give these guys our blind faith and just believe everything that they do is correct, or you know, just give them the benefit of the doubt all the time when we see things that are contrary to to our beliefs. You know, but that's just me personally.
Gray.
Um, D made some good points. I also think that basically religion is getting too intertwined with government. Do I think that as far as Christianity and Islam in particular, should probably have a little bit more leniency towards Judaism or Jewish people because, in the context of religion, they're the people that were picked and the actual characters in the
Chosen.
Bible. Yes, but as far as the government is concerned, it's basically like on the right, Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes are both saying this types of things about the Holocaust and these types of things. But we talked with a guy on Spaces on Twitter that's saying, "Oh, well, the right is holding up Nazi flags and the Democrats are holding up Palestine flags," and there's some truth to that, but
True.
I don't feel like it's as on the left as more like they're trying to say that anti-Semitism doesn't exist when there's been like an effort. Go ahead.
True. No, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, that's basically what I was saying. But go ahead.
Well, I want to do a little history lesson. This is the history of the Bible that he's referring to. Many people don't know it. This is a brief history of Abraham and where we got to today on why Jewish people are allegedly the chosen ones. Um, I want to say that I am a Christian, but I have an issue with are the people there the chosen people that they're referring to. So I'll play the clip and we can talk about it.
Travel to the land of Canaan and establish a new tribe there. According to the Old Testament, at the age of 75, Abram heeds this call, setting out on this journey with his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot. After a long journey, they arrive in the promised land of Canaan, where they are told that this land is chosen for them and granted to their lineage. At the age of 99, Abram makes a covenant with the Lord, and his name is changed to Abraham. Abraham dies at the age of 175 and is buried in the cave of Machpelah near the city of Hebron, located in today's West Bank. Abraham had two sons. One was Isaac, and the other was Ishmael. Isaac is regarded as the ancestor of the Jews, while Ishmael is considered the ancestor of the Arabs. These brothers share the same father, but have different mothers. Isaac was born to Sarah, while Ishmael was born to Hagar. Isaac, around the age of 60, is granted a son even though his wife is barren. His name is Jacob. Jacob, by the Lord, is given the name Israel. The 12 sons of Jacob are the first generation of the children of Israel, or the Israelites. The lineages of these 12 sons eventually form the 12 tribes of Israel.
So this is what I struggle with as a Christian. Who are the 12 tribes of Israel, right? Because I feel like we only give acknowledgement to the people that are there now. Now, the history of this, I have more history that we'll play later in, but I've summed it all up pretty much. They all were dispersed after the Great Crusade, which we'll learn in another video. Are the people there now the true chosen star people that they say that they are. Gray, you know a little bit more about this, I think, just as much as I do on the call. What do you think about that? And do you think that those are the people that are indeed the Bible talks about? Knowing the Bible that we know, it does say in Genesis 12, I will make you a great nation, I will bless you, and I will make your name great. I will bless those who bless you and curse whoever curses you. So that is in the Bible. So as a Christian, I do have to believe that. Gray, so what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, we use the Bible as historical context. We basically use time and we use Christ's birth and death based on how we even tell time across the world. So, I mean, we have to look at it as some sort of history document, even if you don't, believe in the religion. I know there's a black tribe in Ethiopia that tracked their Jewish heritage
Right.
and that they accepted them and said that there are black Jews. So I know they with ancestry and science and things like that. I know that we have been able to track the genealogy of Jewish people. So with the technology that we have now, I think it's a lot easier to say if somebody actually descended from this tribe, because I think the big complication with this is that it's looked at as a religion and it's looked at as a race. So that's the
Right.
big complication with that. Yeah.
D, you have anything you want to add?
I don't have enough knowledge on the situation to really speak of it, so I'm going to stay out of it.
All right, I got you. So I have another clip where he basically says something even stronger about Candace Owens. He says that she weaponizes her Christianity.
It's justified because of her Christianity. And you're a pastor. You're not a uneducated guy who just became religious, a few years ago. This is your profession. How is she making that connection? I put on Twitter a few days ago, I said, I don't understand how a Christian woman could chastise Jewish people when her, let's call him, leader,
Yeah.
was Jewish himself.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you fit that how does she fit that triangle into that square?
Well, I find it interesting that she is trying to use Christianity as a ramrod, but it's not real Christianity at the end of the day, as far as my perspective is concerned, because she's converted to a group, a sect of Catholicism that is very anti-Semitic. And so they can say, oh, the Jews don't worship Jesus. Well, at the end of the day, the Catholic sect that she's in worships Mary. Okay, they don't worship Jesus either. They think the only way you can get to God is through Mary and praying to dead saints. And so even if we take the New Testament out of it, obviously you and I are going to have, some conjecture and some disagreements about Jesus and the Messiah. By the way, great movie, Finding Mishiach was one of the greatest movies I had seen on the subject. But if you just take the Old Testament, you cannot take the Jewishness out of the Old Testament. Everything I have in Christianity has Jewish fingerprints all over it. Okay, if I believe that Jesus is my Messiah, well, guess what? He was a Jew. But even in the Old Testament, every minor prophet was a Jew. Every major prophet was a Jew. Moses was a Jew. Abraham was a Jew. 70 plus times you see the phrase Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Abraham, Ishmael, and Jacob. And so the church in America has a choice. We can stand in this sibling rivalry with Isaac, or we can stand with Ishmael, but we can't stand with both. And here's what people don't understand about Israel.
So let me say this. He should have immediately corrected him, for me as a Christian pastor, when he said it's his leader, and said, no, that's our savior, that's our Messiah. Do you understand what I'm saying? I feel like this Greg Locke guy, I'll be real with you, I feel like he's on their payroll. He talks about later in the interview he has a townhome and a condo in Israel, so clearly he has business dealings there, and he has a financial obligation to defend this. D, what do you think about what he said, and what context I gave you about this guy?
You took the words right out of my mouth. He sounds bought and paid for 100%. He doesn't sound to me like any leader or any pastor that I've ever spoken to. Because I have
Right.
an aunt who's a pastor, and she would have never let him call Jesus our leader. She would have
A
never
leader.
went for that ever. So he definitely sounds like he has an agenda here. What about you, Gray? What do you think?
I think the reason Candace Owens is saying Jews persecuted Christians is because of the crucifixion of Jesus. I don't remember the guy named the Roman general, but he gave them
Pontius Pilate.
Pontius Pilate, he gave them a choice. He said, do we kill the thief or do we kill the false Messiah? And then they picked Jesus. So that is the reason that Christians have an issue with these people. And that is like ever since who Martin Luther King named himself after. Martin Luther, when in Germany, he himself had anti-Semitic views. So this has been over centuries and centuries of time because of that specific incident that happened.
Well, yeah. And I mean, let me play you another clip that he said in his church service that to me does not sound like a Christian pastor. And I'm going to tell you why after we watch it. The hateful rhetoric that this guy says about Palestine.
Thing. And anybody that's going to support this Hamas nonsense. Listen, Joe Biden ought to be tried for treason. You understand that? Now, I get it. Obama's the real president behind him anyhow, and so he's the one that ought to be tried for treason. So I hope Netanyahu's a leader and he just mows the whole thing down by this time next week. If you think all this open border stuff is not an opportunity for a bunch of Hamas sleeper cells to come into this nation right now and start killing innocent men, women, and children, you have lost your mind. I'm sick of all these Christians saying we ought to have peace with Islam. Islam is a satanic death cult, and they would cut your head off before I said amen in this sermon if they had a chance to.
Ooh. So I don't think this guy is any Christian. Christianity, the Bible talks about love, forgiving your neighbor, love. You know what I mean? Gray, you know the fruits of the Spirit. What Bible is he reading? Yes, there are violent times in the Bible in the Old Testament, and we talk about that a lot, Gray. But Jesus came and paid a price for our sins, so we don't have these violent times. Gray, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's horrific to have hateful rhetoric, especially from the pulpit. And as
Right.
far as his foreign policy, Israel's actually attacking the people who are behind this, which is Iran. Like they actually got in a shootout or attacks with Hezbollah, who's financed by Iran. So with him saying that, kill all the Palestinians, they're the people like they're having to coexist with them. But the people who are actually responsible for the terroristic attacks has been proven to be Iran. So he doesn't seem to be an expert on foreign policy. He also seems to just be putting hateful rhetoric in a Christian organization where he's not paying taxes. So I think that's horrible. What about you, D?
True.
Yeah, I've never heard a holy man speak that way. This guy just said in front of everybody in the congregation that he hopes Netanyahu goes down there and mows the whole thing down. That includes women, children, the innocent, the just, the unjust, and he just called for all of their death. But yet he's the pastor preaching Christianity. That's crazy. That's all I gotta say about that.
I mean, it's pretty shocking. He was pretty strong. And the last clip I have is why don't more Americans support what's going on in his mind?
Happening.
I think it's happening by and large in Christianity because people are ignorant of the Bible.
Ignorant, yeah.
Yeah, we claim to believe
the
Bible,
Bible.
You're ignorant
we don't
too.
even read, right? I mean, even
You're
in the church world, the
supporting
evangelical
murder
church
of women
world,
and
Catholic,
children.
Charismatic, Pentecostal, Baptist, whatever denomination, people claim to believe a Bible that they do not actually read. So here's my doctrine. The only parts of the Bible you really believe are the parts of the Bible you really behave. Right? Because your belief system will affect your behavior
Same with
system.
you, 'cause you're
so if you're not
violent.
behaving correctly, it's because you're not believing correctly. And the American church is far too American and not enough church. We don't believe the Bible that we say we believe.
Well, so I'll be honest with you. I never talk about this with anybody.
Sure.
My circles are pretty Jewish. So it's an interesting perspective, and nobody's perfect, by the way.
Sure.
And I think the Jewish nation has a long way to go, and I think
Sure.
American Jew.
Ridiculous, Gray.
As far as him saying that America isn't as Christian anymore, it is an epidemic where a lot of people don't go to church anymore. I don't go to church.
True.
A lot of people, especially men, don't feel like there's a place for them in church anymore. If he wants to make critiques on church. He needs to talk about the massive amounts of money that preachers are making based on their congregation, which I think is the real issue. So as far as him getting into politics, how about he start helping people and helping the community rather than talking about hurting people? What about you, D?
Yeah, I just see this guy making a lot of criticism. I don't see him giving any plans forward to help these people or anything like that. The only thing I hear him talking about is murder and killing innocent kids. Like Netanyahu needs any more help doing that or any more encouragement doing that. This guy makes me sick.
He makes me sick. So let us know what you think in the chat. I mean, this pastor went pretty hard for Candace Owens. And for once, Candace, I'm on your side. And I want to say this. Candace has said some pretty strong things this week, but never once did she say anyone should be blown up, anyone should be hurt, anyone should be attacked. In fact, she's spoken out against the innocent women and children that are getting killed in Palestine right now. Gray, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with Candace on a lot, but I think in this particular situation, this particular person saying that her rhetoric is horrific because she's saying stuff about the Israel community, and him defending them seems to be a little bit suspicious. So that's basically what I have to say. What about you, D?
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up well. I don't really have another statement to make about it.
For sure. Like, share, subscribe. Always vote.
Always vote.
Always